Welcome into TFEs episode number 2. I'm Kelsey Cuff.
I'm Dalen Cuff.
And we got the first one off the ground later than we thought we would, but it's here. And now we're here for episode number 2, which Dalen is going to have a whole lot of different TFEs and I think a different vibe than our first one did where we were just introducing it. But we do want to start with how we're going to start, I think, pretty much all the time. You mentioned it last time. Let's just go TFEs off the top. They're going to be kind of integrated throughout what we do today, obviously every day, but just big picture because it's kind of been a busy couple of days for us.
Yeah, we started school on Tuesday. Lyra started school, I should say, first grader, which was pretty cool. So, I mean, it's weird. We'll get into, because we ended last episode talking about how we were hopeful to take a trip. We took the trip. So that did happen. We will get to that momentarily. It's just so weird and it's so like life hits you over the head. We had like that 48 hours where you disconnected, you couldn't use your phones except for in your room, and even when you're in our rooms, we rarely did, to just right back into the real world. I felt like right away we were just disparate things, doing stuff. You're getting set up to go start working a lot more and traveling, and I'm doing the same, and we got Lyra starting school and Dace and all these different things. So just like everybody knows, it's been a hectic week. So I think my thoughts are been like we went from super connected to somewhat disconnected and trying to manage all this stuff, coupled with the fact that Lyra goes back to school, and that's like an emotional time. Wasn't as hard as last year.
I was going to say it was a little different for you than kindergarten.
No tears were shed. Kindergarten, that door shut, and your boy was
a puddle in the living room.
But yeah, I think now like she's just so excited about school and excited about her teacher and in a groove and has friends. There's just way less nerves for me going into that. So I think the feeling was like still strange to not have her in the house. We had those great couple months where late wake ups, hanging out, doing different stuff, traveling obviously. So there was my feelings were very much like proud of her and like excited for her, but a twinge of sadness, of course, that she's not here right now. Here when we got to spend so many times together. The emotions about this whole process, I think, we've had a little bit like the last couple of days where I mentioned the disconnect. It's been like, I think your boy's been a little bit on edge. I
think we both have.
That's fair. I was going to see what you wanted to volunteer there on your own, but yes, I wasn't going to put anything on you. I'm just talking about me. So yes, I feel like there's been an edginess to both of us a little bit, which isn't ideal. So I think, and we, this is therapeutic for us too to start this way, because I think in the last couple of days we've been caught up in our things and maybe not have been as connected or discussing our TFEs as openly as we should or as open as we normally do. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I think I'm excited for today's show because it's an uninterrupted, knock on a microphone, knock on wood,
Dace is napping,
uninterrupted time for us to just focus on ourselves and talk a little bit and share some stuff, and that should be great.
Quick side note, we did have an idea a long time ago where we're like, oh, should we ever do a podcast? And you said we should call it In the Nap. Well, this literally, it seems like it's going to be in the nap. Yeah, because we're doing it a lot of times when Dace is sleeping. We mentioned the childcare thing last time. We're still figuring it all out. Your TFEs on all of that, I thought were spot on. The differences from last year to this year for Lyra, especially for you as her dad, for me as her stepmom, just trying to figure it all out as well. But proud was such a good one. I think we were talking this morning to her about like, well, now you're a first grader. So like you can also help be a good friend and be a leader and all of these things. Whereas last year she was so excited but nervous, and it's just cool to kind of see the transition and the growth. And she's always, been, I feel like since I've known her, a child who's like excited about learning and a good friend to others. But to see her now in this different role as a first grader, it is different. It's just not all new and scary. I can't imagine, going through it for the first time. But so I thought you were spot on with that. I think the other thing that you said too that's interesting is, things have been like we were so connected, and then we came back and it was like, oh my God, we got to do this. I got to go to work later on today. You got to do this. We got to do that. And we've been all over the place. And there's been a couple of times where either I've looked at you and been like, are you good? What do you need? Why are you, what? Or you've looked at me and been like, What's going on in your head?
I like how you say it so sweetly. I think I said, what's going on with you? So I don't think it was nearly as, and it wasn't the, what are your TFEs? It's like, what's going on with you like right now? And then to me yesterday, so the exact same thing. So the tone, I think, was slightly different.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. But I do think you mentioned like this will be good and it's therapeutic. There were a couple times where I was like, oh, in my head, like, well, I mean, we're going to talk about this on the podcast. But what I think we have to be careful, the reason that TFEs is good is because if you like set a time, even like, hey, every night when the kids go to bed, we're going to sit down on the couch and do TFEs. Sometimes it's better if there's something that's been bothering you, there's not like, this isn't the ideal time to bring it up, but I know we're going to have our time later on. What I don't want us to do is be like, well, we're going to talk about it next week when we actually sit down and talk TFEs. And we did. We still like talked through some of those things like, hey, are you good? What's wrong? Why are you feeling like this? So I think that's going to be an interesting thing for us as we like still work through things as a couple and do things that we've been doing, this entire relationship as it relates to like TFEs and staying connected and what are we prioritizing. But also like, obviously we're having this platform where we're telling people how important we think it is, how valuable we think it is as well. So that's really interesting.
Real quick on that, because I think one of the issues I have in things with our job or whether it was radio shows, the pod that I do with Spatola, like we are, a lot of times I am always like, save it for the show. I'm a save it for the show type person. So it's the first time we're kind of going through it. Can't really do that in marriage. Not exactly the best way to go. Let's lock this up for the next 48 hours. So that is an interesting thing to talk through some stuff, knowing that we have this platform, but we can't wait. It's not healthy, and it's not how we built this whole thing.
No,
so we can't fall into that trap at all.
Okay, so before we really get into, I think the crux of like TFEs, you mentioned last pod, we were like, hopefully we're taking this trip. I think specifically you were like, if we don't take this trip, I'm going to go hit golf balls for like 36 straight hours.
Nobody said
that was like
balls.
my
I just
takeaway.
said, I'm going golfing. So that's a good 18, maybe an emergency 36. Who knows what's going to happen.
Here's the thing. We did, in fact, take the trip. And you did not go golfing, despite the fact that there was this beautiful golf course right outside of where we were that we walked by on our walks. And I see the just like pleasure in your face as I'm saying that so happily.
This is about personal growth, folks. That's what this is about. I knew ahead of time that the golf is included in the experience. And shout out to our guy, TJ, I might leave the last name out, but a guy took care of us, or like hooked us up and told us, what this place existed.
First of all, this place, Miraval, Berkshires. We mentioned it last time. But yeah, went down to the Berkshires for 2.5 days, I guess.
It was about 52 hours, but who's counting?
Yeah, I guess really 2, because of that back half of one day and front half of another day. This place is unreal. I'll let you finish, but I just kind of wanted to set the table. I mean, it's a wellness retreat. We're like, let's go to a beach. Let's go. Where can we stamp our passport? Usually that didn't happen for us this summer. It just was not realistic. Yeah. So you found this place through TJ, and I think it was even more than we could have imagined, even more than we knew we needed.
Yeah, it's a Hyatt property. He works for Hyatt, and we met at an event in Martha's Vineyard last month, and he was saying, hey, you should check this place out. And the wellness retreat aspect, I've never done anything like that before. Yeah. So whether it's all these classes around, obviously, mental, physical, emotional health, as well as a beautiful spa situation, all your food is included. So the layout, the experience, the pool, like it is all these things. I already mentioned no device, which I love that concept in today's world to make us disconnect and make us stay focused. Because right before we're about to leave, as you recall, I did look at my phone and it literally ruined my day. Yeah. So that right away, it's just like it put me in a different place.
When we were about to leave the property.
Yeah, we were about to get in the car. Also, your boy does not like ending vacations. Does not transition well back to
no
real
one
life.
Spirals more at the end of a vacation. I'm like, do you hate our real life? Like, yeah, we're going back home. Are you good over there?
I just always usually want it to go a little longer because it is a full escape. And I think I let myself indulge in that escape.
As we just told Lyra, it feels good to miss something because then you know what's on the other end. Like time away is good because then you look forward to it and you miss it.
Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
There you go.
I do believe in that, except when you wanted one more day at Miraval Berkshires. But the place was absolutely outstanding, and the experience was great, and we got to do definitely a lot of different things that were physical and mental. Anybody that's ever done tension release exercises, TREs, not TFEs, TREs, that was a life-altering experience. We can get into that if you want.
Shout out to our guy, Mark.
Mark did a great job breaking it down for us. And what your body is capable of doing and holding onto and releasing, and how you can control it was fascinating.
Wait, don't skip over this, because I feel like this was like a big thing.
I had to finish my golf thing. You go back to TREs.
Sorry.
The only point was all these amazing things. I
forgot that we were talking about golf because they have all these other things.
I did not. The last text I sent was about a tee time for next week, which is cratering as we speak. Anyway, I got to beat Jordan before we get to winter. I got to beat Cornette before we get to winter. I knew the golf was included. I was well aware of it. Didn't say it. Didn't mention it to you. And within 8 minutes of us being there, I don't know how you're like, there's a golf course here?
No, I knew that too.
But you said it's included. You saw like included in the stay somewhere. You brought it up, and I'm like, yeah, babe, I know. I'm well aware. I didn't bring it up. I didn't try to get a tee time. We're not getting any stick. No sticks were brought. We're focusing on us. We're focusing on each other. But my God, every time I walked by that first hole, it was painful because I would love to be out there every morning.
It was beautiful. They have this mansion that's on property, and the golf course, the first tee is right there.
Yep.
Yep.
I'm aware of downhill. Yep. So it's about a 370-yard par 4 downhill. I was like, man, if you pipe one, you could get real tight to this thing.
That's exactly what I was thinking as I was just sitting there reflecting by the bonfire. Yeah. You did great not playing golf. We'll play golf another time when we have more time. Appreciate you prioritizing us. Not also just prioritizing us, but prioritizing ourselves. Like all the activities we did do together because you didn't want me to do anything separate of you. I don't know why you're like that. You just want all the time with me. Okay, maybe that wasn't exactly how it happened. Yeah. But
you're gonna bring up the donkeys right there then?
We did bring them all together. We did do them all together. But I feel like there was a lot individually that we got out of each one too in our quiet moments and times and reflections afterwards. Probably none more so than the donkeys. Let's save the donkeys, actually.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's save the donkeys because that was the last thing we did, and I thought it was amazing. You thought it was not as amazing, but I think you enjoyed it. You mentioned TREs. Or TREs.
Yeah, you said
I know, but it's just TRE, like not E's.
Oh,
I'm saying they're like TFEs.
Yeah, my bad.
Tension release experience. Exercise. Yeah.
Technically, it is plural, but go ahead.
Yeah. We did it with his instructor, Mark, and there was 10 of us in the class. I didn't really know what to think, but I was pretty passionate. Like we moved the schedule around to get it in because I'm like, we have a lot of tension, whether it's life tension, stuff that we've mentioned we're carrying from the last year. Also just pain. I was in a car accident years ago. My back always hurts. So I'm like, I don't know what this is going to be about. It was pretty incredible. Mm-hmm. It was incredible. You're basically, it's somewhat meditation, but also doing little things for your body. And then basically he tells you at the beginning, okay, your legs are gonna tremor, and you're like, what did I just sign up for? We're gonna
nah, bro. How my legs gonna tremor from a couple exercises?
Yeah,
I'm over here trying to be the alpha male. Like, come on, man, what are you talking about?
And he did say afterwards, your husband's legs were shaking like crazy.
Clearly, I'm holding on to some stuff.
So we won't explain it all because we're not the people that have studied it. I don't think we need to go too in depth with it, other than it was, I feel like, a really impactful, at times emotional experience. It's a way that you kind of let your body release some of those tension, release some of the things that have happened. He was talking about how he's had chronic pain and has been healed from that now after doing it for a little while, a couple of sessions. But that was really impactful. I'm sure you have a couple of thoughts on that before I go to some of the other stuff.
Yeah, the fact that we can control our bodies like this, and just so you understand how it works, folks, basically they have observed these things in the wild, tremors, and with humans, adults, we don't tend to let ourselves tremor to release some of these tensions and stresses. If you look at kids, and they studied war zones where you saw how these things impacted kids and these tremors, and you see it in nature in different places. The most obvious examples, he said, whenever you have a dog around fireworks and that dog hears it and panics and starts to shake, that's the example that humans see a lot, but we don't, as adults, we control our body. We don't allow that to happen anymore, except in extreme circumstances. My point for saying that is you can activate this in your body, and you do basic exercises, calf raises, wall sit, some squats, and then you lay down, and how you start to move your legs up from a prone position. So if your feet are touching and your knees are pointed out like a diamond, you start to move them up 2 minutes at a time. By the time you get to the top, your legs are in full shake. Your body starts to tremor. And the weird part to me is you can't control it. You can't really turn it off. He tells you how to turn it off if you get uncomfortable. I'll come back to that in a second. But how your mind went through, because we sat there for 20 minutes and you're laying there.
And he says don't do it for more than 10 or 20 minutes.
Yeah, you're laying there.
Don't do it anyways unless you're doing it with someone. That's what he says.
I would imagine that too. As you're laying there, my brain went to so many crazy places. And he did say, maybe emotional, maybe trauma, maybe things that are painful. You may be more meditative. You don't know, but your body's releasing stuff.
May
your
affect
brain's
your sleep
working.
That night. I couldn't go to sleep. I was like,
I had another weird dream. I think I had other weird dreams. I don't know if I went through this with you, but there was like in my head, I was going through all types of random traumas were popping in. Things that, whether things happened to me, things I did, things that, whether it was regret, pain, anger. I was all over the map, and I'm closing my eyes. And I'm not trying to think of these things. They're just kind of popping in and out, and it was a really weird state to the point where afterwards, I felt like physically wiped, but also like emotionally, like in a bit of a fog. And the last thing I'll say about it is there were 7 people in the class because we're an odd group of 3. So the 3 dudes actually partnered up because it's one of the classes we actually talk afterwards. And talking to some of the guys, I do think it's interesting when you go to a place like this, especially as a man, where I was 4 years ago, or even 3 years ago, or probably 2 years ago, it's not the same experience I'd have now. The same ability to go in with an open mind, an open heart, wanting to connect, wanting to get the most out of it. Because you could recognize in the couple of guys I was talking to, one guy, he very much still in that space of, I'm not really sure what we just did or what was going on, but like you went in with a little guarded nature to it. And I think most men, I'm not speaking complete generalizations, obviously it's not the ideal way to communicate, but we can deal with a lot of the same issues. And if you come in with skepticism, some negativity, somewhat closed off, somewhat not connected emotionally or willing to share, then I think that affects your experience. So I think I say all this to do that now was a markedly different experience than I would have had in years past. And your hope for anybody that goes to these things is you're in the right mental and physical space to do it. Otherwise, I don't know if you get the most out of it.
Yeah. I was curious, actually. I forgot to go back to like, how was the conversation? Because I saw the 3 men in the class, when you told us to partner up, the 3 of you went together, which I thought was really cool. I went with the woman that was next to me, and we had a great conversation. She was like pretty emotional and blown away by like how emotional she got, and a little embarrassed as well as we talked about it. And I was like, I felt emotional too. It was a lot. It was really cool. Very impactful, something that I think we're definitely interested in learning more about, but it was just one of the things we did. Pottery.
Right. You could turn this thing off too, folks. The tremoring, the weirdest part about it, like our body is a machine a little bit. As soon as you lay flat and you put your feet up and your hands up for like 8 seconds, all of a sudden, it's just flipping a switch.
Donald's trying to give away all the trade secrets.
It's not trade secrets. It's our bodies are machines at times. It's fascinating to me. Like it was wild. So anyway, go ahead.
It is.
Pottery.
And to your point, it was from not like we weren't working our muscles to fatigue where you're like doing these things and you're shaking. It was like this happened as a result of small little exercises that we did and then activating them.
Activating your psoas is what you're doing.
Yeah, your psoas muscle. He says that's a very powerful muscle, which
apparently.
Yeah, apparently. Yes, we did pottery. That was really cool. You went all in until like the last 10 minutes.
Well, okay. I really enjoyed it. And now we were fortunate. I grew up in Pittsburgh, and Pennsylvania has really good public schools. And we had a good school district, similar to what we are here in Connecticut, and fortunate for that. But we had every month, you would have a kid would be able to go onto the kick wheel pottery and make their pot or make whatever they were making. So it was like we do it, I guess, eight times a year, something like that. So I'd done it before and had experience with it, but I'd never done it as an adult. I've done it probably since I left that school district at 14 years old. And I do think it was the way that our teacher, Cassie, taught it too.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Was not prescriptive, was not, do this and do. It was just very much. It was like a yoga class for pottery.
I was going to say it was intentional because everything there is like the Miracle mindset and the Miracle moment and breathe and like what are you taking in and how are you like experiencing this. So it wasn't just like this is what you do to do pottery. Actually, when we started, she was like, "Okay, you guys have a technique down. You like kind of know. Cool, go." And we were like, "Wait, what do you mean? Like you're not going to tell us like what to do or how to make a vase or how to make a bowl?" And we just kind of experienced that on our own through, one of the things that I thought was so cool too is like the trial and error of it is like we would do it and 5 minutes in, I mean, bravo, this bowl that you created, if we would have taken it home, it would be on the shelf right now, which, oh man, I forgot my trinket for the shelf. We'll have it next show.
No trinket. Do you know how hard it was for me to actually make something that looked decent and not be able to just, we're done, right? Like I'm a goal-oriented person. I didn't set out to make that goal. I was just kind of seeing what happened.
Same.
I'm like, hey, this is a pretty good bowl.
And I thought we were taking something home. So my heart had a very hard time with like, what do you mean? Like we don't have 5 more minutes and then you're going to put this in a kiln and we're going to pick it up tomorrow. That
was, again, part of the, like, we're just going to experience this. We're going to be connected to ourselves and to what we're doing. And it was like very peaceful because we were only 2 in the class too.
Yeah.
So nobody else is talking. And at times, again, Cassie, good teacher, she's making her own pots.
She's making vases. Those were crazy.
She was crushing stuff over there, but she's like, I'm doing my thing. They're doing their thing. We're all occasionally we would just look at your thing or we would talk, but it was very peaceful. And you mentioned the last 10 minutes. Okay. She did tell me I'm a little big for the tall for the thing, so I'm bent over. My back started to hurt. I'm freaking starving at the end. It was an hour and a half class.
And this guy, when he's hungry.
And at this point, yes, hangry. You've known this way before when we first met. You were like, this guy's even more
get him some food.
Unbearable and set when he doesn't eat. But I was hungry, and I destroyed my pot, my bowl. I tried to make it into something else. And I was doing something else. I kept trying to recreate stuff to the point where my clay was a wrap. My hands were covered. My back hurt. I had a great time. But I was ready to eat.
Yeah.
So I just had seen it. So I sat there peacefully.
You did?
Like an adult. Didn't say we got to go.
Let me keep
Didn't
doing
say
my
what time
clay.
it is. Didn't let you just keep doing your thing.
Ambidextrous clay.
And I just sat there and contemplated the world. And I enjoyed it.
You did great. I enjoyed it too. I did also enjoy the fact that we were making these like things that were very cool and we were really proud of. And then the slightest movement of your hand, you push too hard or you don't like hold it on the other side enough or whatever it is, and it's just trash. But then you can continue to work with it, and then you just build it into something beautiful again. I don't know. I think that was like symbolic and cool for me too. It's like you're in the middle of this thing creating it and you think it's amazing and perfect and it looks like it is, and then all of a sudden we're just going down the roller coaster and it's something completely different, but from that you can work to build something new. So we got all in our feelings with that. We did a floating meditation. Dawn was over there taking a nap.
I didn't mean to. It was our first thing. We just got off the road. I was so excited to meditate and float. Never done it before. We're in these big silks, all basically
literally like in a cocoon.
Buck 90
she's like, do you want a blanket? Do you want another blanket? Let me adjust your neck.
She put the pillow on my face and then she goes, do you want a blanket? Like I don't. She could.
Did you go yes to the blanket?
She couldn't see the Cheshire grin on my face. I was like, yes, blanket, please. Like I was so excited and I just laid there. And apparently, folks, I breathe loud.
Oh God!
And not like snoring. This. I'm trying to relax. I was trying to get into a space like it's yoga-esque, where I'm trying to breathe out. Maybe not the ujjayi. I was maybe going out the mouth too much. Who knows? But apparently, I was being judged for my breathing, not by you, by the teacher.
Also by me, because I was sitting there again, only like 7 of us in the class, and I don't hear anyone other than Dalen going. Can't really hear you breathing, but you're like,
not growling. It's a. Just really trying to relax
like,
myself.
Is he gonna do this the whole time?
Well, no. Then I just fell asleep. Apparently.
No. So then I'm like, okay, we'll see what happens here. Within like 5 minutes of the class, the teacher's like, so we're relaxing in our cocoons, letting our heads and minds go somewhere else. We're breathing in through our nose, out through our nose, loud enough only so that we can hear ourselves. And I was like, whatever meditative state I was in, I just lost because I'm like, she's talking to my husband. He better. And Dalen was still like,
Because I didn't hear it, I was pretty much asleep. Like I didn't want to. Okay, that meditation.
God,
I think I needed more guided meditation. I needed more commentary.
Me too.
I needed more think of like not to force, but especially we just came off the road. We just dropped off Dace. Like we were like kind of rushing into the first one. So I'm ready and excited, but I'm also tired. And we were so comfortable.
So comfortable.
I was a wrap.
We also tired, just dropped off Dace, which brought me another idea that I meant to bring up earlier is we mentioned last time like the struggles with childcare and not having family here, but having family that's willing to like fly up at the drop of a hat, even though they have their own lives and jobs, and friends that are willing to do so much for us. Shout out to Miss Denise and Carly and Hunter because Absolutely. Oh my gosh, they kept our baby for us. Dace has the best aunties and friends here ever. And as hard as it is to not have family here, that you just almost like blindly trust certain people in your family with your kids, as hard as that is, the community that we have been lucky enough but also been forced to develop for Dace and even for Lyra, just with the people who love her and are around her, but especially with Dace and childcare. I think that's like one of the things that, as hard as it is, and the tears that have been shed and the like logistics of figuring out things with Dace, I think that's one of the beautiful things about it is it does force you to have to find a community and have to find help and to see more I'm getting emotional, but to see more people that like love our baby, that like don't have to love our baby, I think it's really cool.
Yeah. It's all right. It won't be the first time tears are shed here.
No.
But I do think that I appreciate that experience you've given to him, though. Like, because you value relationships and you value people and you value family. And that was one of the first things when we first started dating. You're like, yeah, I have like 90 people in my family. My grandma and grandpa are 96 and 95. And mom is one of 6 girls. And it's just like this huge, like, there's just so many people. And you've always valued that. And I've always thought that was pretty cool because I come from a place where my mom's side of the family is large and we were connected to them. But once I moved to Florida, those connections wavered. Like, I still keep in touch with people and we still go see them when I go back. But it's just not the same thing. Like you guys, it was when we grew up, we had that closeness where we were always there every Sunday. It just was different. And that's partially how we're built and partially life gets in the way and all these other things. But you truly value and cultivate relationships. And that's the thing that, and you've been, I'm not going to put words in your mouth. I know it's hard. I'm sure it's hard to give your baby to somebody and say, take care of this baby. For me, for 6 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours, 24, whatever it may be. But you've been willing to do that with the people you love and trust pretty early on. And I do think that's huge. And I do think obviously your family comes up here and it so often has been so instrumental to helping him. But he will be lucky. He will grow up, to your point, in this community with a bunch of different people that care about him. And he will hopefully have a reciprocal nature where he is trusting and loving of these people without skepticism right away. Because that's just kind of how he was brought up. He doesn't seem to have much stranger danger right now, and I don't think it's going to develop. So I appreciate how you carry yourself and the relationships you've developed, because these aren't my friends that are watching him. Honestly, they're dudes. I don't want to watch anybody else's kid.
I was going to say, Carly and Hunter are no longer going to be your friend because you said they're not your friends.
Well, I mean,
I know what you mean.
I love them.
I know what you mean.
And I love any and all friends that are willing to watch days of yours. And it's my friends that relationships I started.
I know what you mean.
But dudes are a little bit different. But anyway, I say that's just, I think it's a testament to you and how you are as a person, how you parent, that's created this village for him to which he has these people.
I appreciate that. I think, I guess not that like, I think it's partially true. Like, you give me credit for having him stay with people pretty early on. I didn't do it like willingly at first, like it was hard. It's just being a full-time working mom is something that I'm still figuring out, that I'm still exploring, and that like you don't understand until you really do it. As a woman who my only dream was to be a mom, literally. Never knew I wanted to do sports, never knew I wanted to do TV. All I knew was was to be a mom. And I don't think I ever thought about, and I would see friends posting about being a working mom and be so inspired, but you can't understand the like intricacies of it and the feelings and the emotions. There's been a lot of different things through the last year for me with work that have been super challenging with Dace in a lot of ways. But there's also this assumption from people of, oh, well, like it's got to be nice, even like not even work people, just outside people, friends, family, whoever. It's got to be nice, like you're in the studio more, that, you're around. It's like, well, yeah, but I'm still not home with my baby. Yeah. Like whatever time you're not here, I still feel that. And I feel like it's good. And to be a full-time mom and not a full-time also working mom, I think is a completely different challenge, because it is. I mean, you're here with Dace a ton without childcare because we don't have it. And
I'm excited for this afternoon.
You have him all afternoon. That's right after we finish this. So it's not just challenging for full-time working moms or full-time working dads, but also people that are home full-time with the kids. That is a different kind of full-time quote unquote job and obligation and blessing and privilege and all of these things. But to say that I did it willingly, I'm like, well, I did it because I had to, because that's what you have to do. If I could have convinced my parents, don't think that I haven't tried to convince them to move to Connecticut. Mom and Dad, you might be our only 2 watchers if you are viewers, if you want to. We'll convert this right back around, and you can have your bedroom.
Absolutely. Well, there's the bedroom right across the hall. This is good. We got some space right now. But I would say this: the house next to us is still available. There is a house that we think is going to be bought and leveled. We don't know what's going on. It's bought. It may be leveled. We don't know what's going on there. But we've tried to convince them. We tried to convince Carly and Hunter to rent it. I believe, did we mention it?
I bought a couple tickets, lottery tickets, trying to see could we
Powerball was 700 mil recently. I'm not sure if anybody won that or not. I don't know what happened there, but yes, if your parents want to come move here, I will say, I've said this so many times, I may have the best in-laws of all time. Like, unbelievable what they will do, how helpful they are. Said it before about your mom. Like, if I put a cup down on a table, it's gone in the dishwasher before. I'm like, I'm not done with that, but it's fine. She's up here cleaning, working, doing everything. She doesn't sit down. She's like a Tasmanian devil of productivity. It's amazing. And your dad's so loving and caring and does a billion things too to help us out. So I hit the jackpot when it comes to in-laws for sure.
That's sweet. I appreciate that. I think they're really special. I think that it's been really special for me to see them become grandparents, because they didn't have any grandchildren before, and then they were lucky enough to basically get two at once. You get Dace, and then they're lucky enough to get to love Lyra too. I say that Dace made them grandparents, and Lyra corrected me the other day and said, actually, Kels, they knew me first. They did know. I'm like, you know what? You're right. They did know you first. Yeah. So that's been fun as well, just to kind of see that transition all together. While we're in this kind of headspace, I think we're going to talk about the donkeys, but I can bring the donkeys up a little bit later, because those TFEs, I think about like the last couple of days and this weekend were probably what was maybe more prevalent on your mind. And then I feel like, not that this wasn't on your mind, but I think TFEs of Saturday have been kind of what has been on my mind for a long time, as I am already, I can't even say it out loud yet. Thoughts, feelings, emotions for me on Saturday and lately. My thoughts are, I am glad that it's not Saturday anymore. Glad to be on the other side of it. My feelings are, I think, gratitude that we were able to start the day off in the place that we were, kind of be in the moment and be present, and then come back and be with Dace. And emotions are, I'm still just heart racing, full of just some anxiety and just obviously pain, because Saturday, I do actually also, sorry, I want to say, just like trigger warning, if anybody out there has dealt with any kind of loss or anything, maybe this isn't the time or the show for you right now, but Saturday we would have had a little girl. So that was part of why we wanted to take the trip, just to have some time to like reflect and reset and just do something for us. I think there's a lot of different things that I want to talk about with having a miscarriage and the experience, and just the pain and the processing and things that I've learned. But I guess that's the first thing. I think it is something that people don't talk about enough, which is why last week when we were saying we've been through a lot and it's hard, but I was saying I was excited to talk about it. I am, because first of all, I want to remember it and, cherish that there is another, baby in life that we created, and that will always be special. But also just because for me, there was so much pain and then also healing in hearing other people that I had no idea. Just, I'm talking like not my friends, the amount of people that opened up to me and said like, this happened to me too, or us too. It was pain and it was healing, and hearing that, because it was pain because I'm like, God, so many people have experienced this. And then the healing is like, you do feel less alone. I think the statistic now is anywhere from like 10 to 20% of pregnancies end in miscarriage. And there's a lot that I think comes with that in the different stages. But I guess, yeah, for me, just big picture, first of all, was wanting to open up this conversation, because it's something that we haven't talked about yet publicly, something that I knew that I always wanted to talk about just because of the way that it impacted me and us and will forever. But also just because of the way it also helped me to hear other people talk about what they went through and their experiences and to be on the other side of
that. First off, it's really hard to go through this and like have you 3 feet apart.
Like,
usually there'd be touching, holding, talking. So that's strange. Maybe we adjust our set here for emotional moments. But I think that the commonality of it is something that is unfortunately, just a very painful part of life. Like this is, you said 10 to 20%. I remember went through this prior to having Lyra, and there was at that time. I remember the doctor told me it's 40% of. So it's a high number, and I do think going through it once before doesn't make it any easier, any different. I think the difference for me was how I responded to it the first time that I went through it, not understanding what my now ex-wife was dealing with, how challenging it was, not being as open emotionally or connected, and I didn't show up the way that I wanted or should in life show up for any partner, especially one that's going through something that traumatic. So I do think part of this podcast or part of life is learning and growing from past experiences. So I do think this one was just as painful, was no less challenging, but I do think that we went through it together, whereas I think before I self-selected and went through it by myself, and that means you leave your partner going through it by themselves as well, which is the shame in it for me, honestly. And I do think that this was it would have been people that go through this stuff. It is something you're never going to forget. You're never going to let it go. Our saving grace through it, honestly, was having Dace already here. Like, if we had to go through that without him looking at him and being on the planet, and literally millions of people go through that and feel that, would have made it just exponentially harder. But having him there was helpful through it, having each other through it. I will say that work for both of us was very understanding, which is important. But as it was for Saturday for me, I have a different. I felt like I'm not the most religious person. I was raised Catholic and haven't, you were a much more religious person and want to go to church. But I do think over the last couple months, as I've kind of made peace with it, for lack of a better term, not that I don't think about it, not that I don't think it's always there. It's just that with all the change and challenge in our life, God will not give you more than you can bear. To have a baby and bring a baby in this world it's a massive responsibility, a commitment, a challenge. It's hard emotionally, physically, mentally. And this is, again, maybe it's like it's trying to make a positive spin on it. Maybe it wasn't the right time for us. Maybe it has to be a different time when it can be more of us having full capacity to devote everything we have to this new child, with less transition, less challenge, less financial questions as I've transitioned jobs. Like, there's just all these different things, and you're going through your career transition. There's a lot happening that, I am an everything happens for a reason type person. And I don't wish that pain on anybody, and I wish we didn't have to live it. But knowing that it did happen, I think we post-rationalize and try to find reasons for things and try to make us feel better. I've honestly found solace in just believing that the right time will come. The right time will be there. It'll happen when it's right. Just like it happened with Dace, and we'll be ecstatic. And that's the hope. The challenge is carrying those feelings forward and having the reminders, and knowing that we were excited about Dace having a sibling that close in age. I mean, I can't, like, Lyra would just be bursting even more with another sibling in the house. But also to your point, it's just not that discussed. Like, when the first time this happened to me, I asked a couple buddies, oh yeah, we had, like, and then all these people, like, why did nobody say this? And I still think it's not really a talked about thing, and see people say it with either shame or frustration, and that really shouldn't be in it. Like, you can't control these things. It's just the body's going to do what it's going to do. It's an insane process. And those that went through it, the females, especially women, especially that went through it, finding connection and solace in somebody else to be there for you and with you, to realize, like, it's nothing anybody did. It just is what happened. And then how do we process what happened? How do we respond to what happened? How do we be there for the people we love when things like this happen, and be there for each other? It's just a huge next step.
Yeah. I think that there's a lot of places my mind goes with this conversation. And as you're saying, you know, people just don't talk about it enough. Like, we're sitting here with TFEs because, like, I like to talk about everything.
I'm aware.
And so, but that's something that early on, I, you know, to me, people opening up to you and you telling people about yourself, that's a privilege. Like, everyone does not get access to you. So if you're willing to let your walls down, your guard down, and tell me intimate, emotional, hard things about your life, that's a privilege that people share. And I think in this instance, the way that everything happened, I think initially I had to just come out and say it a lot more. I'll never forget that day that we found out. We had gone in for an ultrasound and just thought that we were there too early. Dace was there with us. And the doctor was really hopeful and said, come back in a week. You know, we saw the flicker. And so we thought that everything was fine. And she was, you know, I was still breastfeeding at the time and all kinds of other hormonal changes. So she's like, we're probably just not as far along as we think. Come back in a week. And we had an appointment. I think it was set for 2:00 in the afternoon. And I went in for a work meeting that morning and found out that out of nowhere, my work schedule was about to completely change for like the third time as a new mom, and just had so many questions. And I walked out of that meeting and just called you immediately emotional. I was so anxious about the rest of the day too. And all I could think about is, even as soon as they told me like the work schedule changing and all the questions I had there, was like, there's no way this is going to go well. This has to go well. Like, this cannot be all happening in this day. And I say that, you know, I shared even more is because we go to the appointment that afternoon, and then I felt like I had to say it out loud with work. I didn't want people to think that I wasn't showing up for work because schedules were changing. I needed people that were close to me to know, like, I'm not showing up because this is what I'm dealing with. And so that was hard. And you mentioned work was great. They were very understanding and supportive, and I was very lucky and grateful for that. But I think the other place my mind goes down is that appointment, and we've talked about it. It's like, if you've been in this situation, like, you have an idea of what you're looking for in ultrasounds, but you can also just tell from the way, like, the silence is like deafening when you're sitting in that room. And I think there's two other things that are not necessarily negative. I'll never forget. I know you probably know where I'm going with this doctor. You know, you just see whatever doctor's there that day. And we had never seen him. We had never met him. And we were just sitting there like crying and numb and not even talking in the room, waiting for him to come in. And then he's like, let's go see what we need. Let's go to my office and talk about what we need to do about the situation. And I was just like, situation? Like, the situation is like, we're sitting here heartbroken. Like, that's a situation, but like, let's talk about, can we pick a better word? So that like cut me immediately. And then I'll never forget, we go into his office and he has music playing, and I know I'll never be able to hear the song. We just listened to it on the way home, actually. It's Teddy Swims, Some Things I'll Never Know. I have really not a whole lot of ideas what the doctor actually said that day, because all I could hear was that song saying, you know, I guess there's, you know, guess some things I'll never know. I'm not going to sing it or attempt to right now, but that song I related to so much, and now every time I listen to it, I feel like, okay, as annoyed I was that he had music playing in there the whole time that we're talking about this, that I felt like that was purposeful too, because some of the words I just really relate to with this miscarriage and going through this, and the questions that you have, and you mentioned how you can't help it, but like, man, it's so hard not to blame your body or to you know, just be mad and sad and confused and all the things. And I think that's just part of the process, I guess, of feeling it all. You mentioned that we're so lucky to have Dace, and we are. And, you know, I immediately, my head like went two places. Is like, I'm so sad for my friends and people that like have never gotten to have that experience of like seeing a positive pregnancy test and feeling like I'm pregnant. And then also holding Dace that night, like putting him to bed. I just kept thinking how grateful I was that we had him. But then, you know, I kept thinking like, there's another baby that I will never know. You know, that I'll never get to hold and put to bed. And I guess kind of not the last thing, not that we have to be done talking about it, but the last thing in this point that I guess is that I've learned through this process that I think is important is, and kind of embarrassing to admit, like I always felt so much compassion and empathy for anyone who had said that they had gone through a miscarriage. But there was something in me that felt, when I heard more details about it, like, oh, like, okay, that's so hard. At least it was early. Like, I'm glad that they weren't further along. Like, forget that. Like now, like I'm, it's like embarrassing to say, but like, you know, you ask, that's like the first thing, like how far along? If it doesn't matter if it was a minute, a second, an hour, like you see a positive pregnancy test and you picture a life with that child and your life changing. And you mourn that on different levels and different ways and different stages through pregnancy. And obviously there's different hurt that comes and experiences when you're further along. But I think I was not fully aware of like, it doesn't matter how far along you are. Like I knew it hurt, but I didn't understand the like depths of that. And so allowing me to like myself to say that out loud and admit that as well of like, it doesn't matter how far along.
And that's the sad, like, again, you don't know what you don't know. And I don't know, you don't recognize in times how powerful your words are, whether it's that doctor in that moment, although they're told to have, you know, bedside manner is important and have empathy, especially in a position like that. As a doctor like that, he did not meet the moment. But we've all been there in those times, and the similar thing when you say to somebody, well, how far along were you? You think you're providing some sort of empathy or solace, but you're not. Like, it doesn't matter if it's, what's your point? If it's a minute, if it's an hour, it's a week. You've pictured what your life is going to be. And in our case, we're already talking about how things are going to, like, for me, it's logistically, I'm like, all right, well, who's going to live where? And how are we going to move this around? What are we going to do? Like, okay, it's in August. And then what are we going to, like, you will start to...
We sat on the bed that night after the positive test. And we were just, like, looking at each other, like, okay. Because we wanted it. We were lucky with Dace. We didn't, like... We got pregnant fast. I had done froze my eggs before that and stayed off birth control because we knew we were like, this is a good time to have a baby. Who knows what my body will do? And we were lucky. And then this time we were very blessed that we got pregnant quickly again.
We were, and that's the thing. We have been super fortunate in terms of our experience with this, and everybody knows somebody or has lived it, where it's not easy. It's not simple to create this miracle, and probably have more loss and more pain and a lot of friends' money spent to try to create life. So we've been very fortunate in that regard. I think that's part of what I thought about in the weeks after, to be like, you know, it's not supposed to be this easy. You know, it's not supposed to be this easy. And we're going to go through this together. We're going to figure it out, and we will come out on the other side. The difference with a thing like this, when there's loss like this, you're going to come out and we're going to hopefully have another baby or two in your mind. And
thank you.
And move forward in our family, but there will always be that what would have been, and what could have been, or what should have happened on this date every year. We go through that. That'll come into both our minds, and that's one of the hardest parts of loss. Is that piece of it is never going to go away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's something that I think and have thought about a lot. There's also a picture. I always said that when we got married, I like wanted to have, you know, I don't want to be pregnant because I want to have, if all my friends and family are fine and spending money, I want to be able to like enjoy it. And we had thought a lot about like, what if we just got married? What if we just did it on the beach and then had a big celebration later? And, you know, so then when I was pregnant again, we were like, well, we're not waiting another, year plus to at least be legally married. We have a child together. We're going to spend the rest of our life together. Like we've talked about this. Let's do it. The reason I bring this all up is there's a lot of great pictures from our wedding, our little beach wedding that was so special. But there was one in particular that I saw, and I could tell immediately, like, I was like, I'm not posting that, because I had just that little bit of like bloat belly. I was so early, but it was like, you could tell there was just looked different than I had been looking. And I was like, oh man, I'm not posting that picture, because like people are going to wonder like if I'm pregnant. And now I'm like, man, I love that picture, because it's like the one picture I have where you could tell that I was pregnant. So it's interesting too, that something that I like didn't want to share, and at the time wanted to hide because we obviously weren't ready, it was too early to announce, that I'm now like proud of. And I think that's the other thing that's just been an eye-opening experience about being a mom in general, and being lucky enough to give birth and have a baby, and saying when this happens, like the way that you blame your body, or you question, and all these things, is just trying to work through that and just be like proud of all that your body has done and has given you. And you were super amazing and supportive through the whole thing, but especially even like postpartum with Dace. And one of the things that happened with the miscarriage was that my milk supply dropped, and I was still breastfeeding, or at least pumping at the time, because you like to give him bottles and let him drink them upside down, so he thought that was cooler than breastfeeding. Given the current context, I'm gonna let you keep going. But my milk supply dropped, and so then I felt like that was adding insult to injury. I just kept being like, my body couldn't sustain this baby, and now it's like not making enough milk to feed this baby, and I'm gonna have to go to formula. And so that was like just a whole nother level of emotions that you were super positive about, and helped me process. And I think you mentioned not showing up the way that you should have, and in retrospect, the first time that you experienced this, and that's something that she shared publicly, which is why I feel like you share it as well. But I feel like the ways that you did show up, and the growth that you've had just as a person, but also the growth throughout our relationship, like it wasn't even like you had to do anything, but it was just like us sitting on the couch, and us like being present, and you letting me talk, or letting me that drive home from the doctor that day, it was like an out of body experience. Like, I don't think we said a word. And it wasn't like in a negative way. I wanted to talk, like I wanted to say things, but I literally just felt like paralyzed by the like initial grief, because especially after you have one healthy pregnancy, I think we let our guards down a little with that one. And that it's a possibility, but yeah, I think it was incredibly important for me to like have the ability to process it, but also just like have the ability at any time to like lean on you and figure it out.
Which I appreciate, and I'm glad you feel that way, because that was essentially the goal. Because I don't have any... I am wired as a very solution-oriented person, and I've learned through this process to trying to solve your problems, or most other people's problems, it's not really what they're looking for. Like, how can you just be there for somebody? And there's nobody more to be there for than your partner.
Yeah.
And I know I called work, and I was supposed to go do a game that weekend. I had to take off. They had to get somebody else to do it. It wasn't even a question. It was like, all right, I'm not going, so we got to figure this thing out. With work, I mean, like, how you guys figure that out? And again, they were great, but it was like just a reminder to myself that you have to be here. Like, there's nothing you're going to do. You're not going to fix this for her. You're not going to fix it for you. You just got to be. And that was, that's not in my nature. That's not in a lot of men's nature, honestly. So like, one of the biggest things we can do is just be there and be comfortable, being uncomfortable, and being sad and sitting there and probably eating blue ice cream. We probably did that day and the next day.
I think we can talk about blue ice cream every time we do a podcast, or no?
I think we can fit it in. Did we do it in the first one?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. 2 for 2. But just showing up and being there and just being present, which is, again, something that is not in my nature, which is not normal, which I think is a learned habit that I didn't do for 40 years of my life, and have affected a lot of relationships and people by not doing that, or understanding the power that has, which again is not something I say with pride, but something that I think that I'm glad there's been growth there, but it's unfortunate that there's some wreckage left because of that, because of my actions previously.
I think the other thing that's important is you're saying that is like also as much as I am open and tell me everything, going through not just the heartbreak and the, process of grieving, what would have been with you in this situation, but any situation is also sometimes having to figure out like how to meet you where you are as well. Like you're not gonna just walk in the door and be like, this is what's on my mind. And, we talk a lot about love languages and what do you need and what do I need, and are you giving me what I need, and am I giving you what you need, and like, I like words of affirmation and like little love notes and things like that. And so I want to do that for you because it's something that's meaningful for me, but also I think it's understanding your partner and like prioritizing like, okay, this is stuff that makes me happy, but what makes him happy isn't necessarily the same thing. And also like what he needs and how he processes things isn't the same. I think in those days, like, I gave you the space, but not like physically, but we would just sit there in quiet moments and maybe I would ask like, hey, are you okay? And if you didn't want to talk about it, we didn't have to talk about it then. And you the same with me. Cause like to your point, sometimes it's just being there and sometimes it's just listening, and we're just venting. We don't need a solution. Like there is not an answer to this, but you need to hear my thoughts on that.
And feelings.
And emotions.
Exactly.
And so I think that's an important thing too. I do also want to say, as we talk about sharing and like what got us through this, and I mentioned that there were so many coworkers that I was blown away by, and friends and family members that shared their stories with me and said, this happened to us too, and here's what we did, or just this happened to us too, and we're thinking about you and praying for you. My friend Krista is one of my great friends from college, but also before college. We played soccer together growing up. She has an incredible foundation called You Keep Hope Alive. She lost her daughter Hope at 20 weeks. I was there at the hospital that day. Again, I think a privilege as a friend to get to be there on, I know, the hardest day of her life. But anyways, I bring that up to say, like, as people are hopefully listening to this and maybe sharing more, like their foundation, the nonprofit that they started, You Keep Hope Alive, helps people who have gone through this, and they have different resources that they send. She sent me different things, a journal, a book, different things that help you process it and also help you build that community when you need it. So if there are people out there who have gone through it, and whether it was yesterday or 5 years ago, I don't think that this is something that goes away. I think like anything in grief, you process it at different stages and think about it differently. But I just want to mention that as well with purpose, that like there are so many different things that I've seen and read and done, but that's one that I know the impact that they're making, and how she and her husband Evan and really their whole family have turned that pain into like just a huge purpose and passion project, and the way that they're helping other people and leading with faith, and has been really inspiring to me. The way that they led with faith that day. I mean, that I was there with them at the hospital, and just worship and praise, and their pastor was there. I told her, like, for me, and their daughter's name would have been Hope, which is why it's You Keep Hope Alive. For me, that like restored my faith and made me want to make sure that I was grounded and that I was staying true to who I was and my religion and all of those things, because I saw the way that they had no other option when they were so broken, but like to turn to God and say, okay, we don't know why, but how, like what's next? And so that I think is super powerful and has been a great resource too.
Yeah, I think it's great. You're shouting out what Krista and Evan, their whole family, are doing in their charity. I do think that I said this to you before. I'm sure we'll at some point in this pod we'll get into a religious discussion. But it's almost this is so weird to say this. The people when people go through loss and go through pain and are very religious and very connected in that regard to their faith, to their family, to their community through faith. I almost have like an envy of that. Like you are going through it with people, and you are connected, and you're trying to find rationalization for it, like we talked about earlier. And based on what you believe, you're finding grounding in it. You're finding togetherness, and hopefully you're finding meaning in the suffering, which some would say that's to live, to find meaning in the suffering. I as somebody that's not that religious, I'm sure you're saying, well, you can be. You're making a choice, which again we can have this discussion more in depth. But there is it's a weird emotion for me. It's a weird feeling for me to be like, man, it's got to be different going through that with like a community of people. And I haven't like to feel loss on that level and have, people with you to go through it, and a purpose and a belief is a different way. As I've gone, the loss I've gone through in my life, minus this one, because I felt like we went through it together, was almost by design. I felt very solo, very isolated, did not communicate, didn't talk about it, didn't connect with other people on it. Just kind of put my head down and I'll be fine. That type of stuff, which is not evident. And maybe part of it was in the TRE exercise and tremoring, a lot of that coming out. And that's where my head was going to different random places. So it is a weird, I feel like that always pops in my head sometimes. I'm just like, man, that's got to be helpful to go through that and to have that belief system and have that grounding and that connection, because it's not, hasn't been my lived experience.
Yeah, I do think it's something that we'll talk about more in depth, because it's something that we've talked about a lot. It's something that we talked about very early on in our relationship, because as someone who is religious and believes in God, and it was something that when we were like planning potentially a life together, I was like, well, where are you on religion and how we raise our children and what our beliefs are and things like that, because that was something that was important to me that we were aligned on, before we like decided to have babies and start a life together and get married and do all of those things. And aligned is an interesting word, because I know that like, whereas I know what my beliefs are and how I feel like you have always been pretty open about like, okay, well, this is how I was raised, and this is what I think, and this is kind of what I long for, and this is also like why I have questions. And so for me, I continue to look forward to exploring those questions. You have the longing. I think that there's a belief in there, and for me, there's a purpose in all of that we'll continue to dive into.
Might have a topic for next week's show. Let's keep it light. TFEs on religion.
Okay. Lastly, well, not lastly, but just to bring it back really quick, the donkeys. I'm bringing it back to the donkeys.
That is the hardest transition I've ever heard. Go, donkeys.
Wait, let me get there. You're going to be like, wow, you must do TV because of this transition. Because we're getting back to the donkeys, because that was on August 23rd, which would have been our due date. And the donkeys gravitated to you, girl.
Oh my God, did they ever? And the level of jealousy with the other 7 women in the group was unbelievable. They're like, why do these 2 donkeys want to rub up on this lady?
I felt really sad for one girl, because she was like, donkeys are my favorite animal, and that's why we're here, and da-da-da-da. And these 2 donkeys just were like hugging me and just looking at me and coming over and wanting me to pet them. And I sat down on the ground with them, and the instructor, she said, their donkeys are they're like healers in a way. They like know what you need, and they come to you, and they meet you where you are, work on your breathing, work on different things, but like they're going to know what you need. So these donkeys come over and just befriend me and are all over me. And about, I don't know, felt like 4 seconds in, but probably like, 5 minutes.
It was 7 minutes and 8 seconds. I knew it to the T. I was like, can this end? She's covered in
being all
crap.
The donkeys being all over me and loving me. The instructor says, I think at that point they had like started to mosey on to someone else mosey on. But the instructor says like, they were really with you. They really, were drawn to you. Do you know why? And in my head, I was like, yeah, I'm sad. Like I was going to have a baby today. And they knew it. Like the donkeys knew it, but you know what I mean? But like I did, I feel like that was, the donkeys were like my little healers that day. So that's why I say back to the donkeys, because the donkeys knew what I needed, and I needed their love and their cuddles and their poop covered faces rubbing all over me.
Again, sometimes showing up for your partner is standing 10 feet away while donkeys essentially make out with
you
your wife.
You pet the donkey. You did.
I got forced into that. I didn't want to.
You got bullied into it.
Apparently, that was the one thing in Miraval I had to do. I was like, I don't want to touch the donkey.
The instructor was like...
I did brush. I brushed. They brought brushes. I'm like, okay, that's not skin to whatever contact. I'm okay. And then we had to hand them off, and you guys were like, you can touch them, sir. You can touch them. And you're like...
Because they were like... The donkeys were like cool. They were doing their little circles with everybody, and they would get to you, and everybody would pet them, and then they would do their walk to the next person. They would get to you, and you wouldn't pet them, and they were like, what is happening? Why doesn't he want to touch us?
You remember the instructor saying you have to work for their love. We got to warm up to them. Got to work for my love. Apparently, well, I was not down.
You went in. You pet him. I thought I was very proud of you because I was like, he's about to, just like breathing loudly, he's about to ruin everyone else's experience. He's throwing the donkeys off because he won't give them any love.
I did exactly what was asked of me by the instructor to make sure everybody had an excellent time. I stood there. It was 90 minutes of donkey time. I mean, Arsenal was playing Leeds. They kicked off in the middle of this donkey session. I was like, this is unbelievable. I'm missing the game for the donkeys.
They were so good.
We watched it later. But yes, to bring it back, as a great transition. They knew what you needed. You were the first person they gravitated to, which I was like, man, in my head, I'm like, I wasn't thinking about the full context of she needs this right now, like on August 23rd. I was just thinking like, you were in like a pure, like, you seemed very connected and very present and clearly like into what was happening. Like I was happy for you to have those moments. While the other 7 women around me were completely jealous and like, when are these donkeys?
They came around to everybody else, though. They gave the other people some love, but they just were sensing that I needed it.
And we're not talking about standing there to be petted, folks. We're talking about like hugging, like they nuzzle their head in, and we're like surrounding you in a circle. They wanted you. They wanted to sit in your lap.
Yeah, they back up to you.
Way too much. Yeah, they back up after they just took a huge shit.
Back that thing up.
Yikes.
They knew I needed it, and I did, and that was a very big moment in my week. There was another really big moment in my week for a very close personal friend that I did want to share, because Taylor Swift is engaged.
All right, we got to wrap up the pod. We've gone long enough.
She is engaged.
Why are you so excited about this?
I just said very close personal friend.
Your sister was almost crying yesterday.
We were.
You were both crying? I meant to send to the group chat. I'm like, so when is the invitation in the mail? Because I've never cried for anybody about their wedding that isn't close to me.
Listen,
like, you guys think you're getting an invite?
On the record that we are Taylor Swift stans from like Speak Now. We were out there.
You need a year. I don't know what that means.
Well, from the very beginning. Okay. From the very beginning, taking little 7-year younger sister Chandler to concerts with her friends, and like we were there. We were there in the beginning. All the rest of you, welcome.
Well, also, all y'all are saying that. Every one of you fans say that now. Very rare, like, yeah, I just came in the last 2-3 years. So I believe you. But I imagine many people are skeptical of your belief in the
That's fine. I just told you the concerts that we went to as kids. So we were there.
What did those tickets run back in the day? Like at least $20, $30? Or were you talking insane?
For the amount of money that I paid on one ticket to the Eras Tour in Boston at Foxborough, it was a rain show.
Pouring rain.
It was so amazing. It was so good.
You couldn't have paid me to stand out there.
I would not have paid you, because the reason that my little sis bought a ticket that day, flew up literally that day, we drove to Boston, came back, is because like you want to experience that with somebody that like loves it. You would have gotten it too. I think you would have come around. You cannot help but be happy at those concerts. Don't get me derailed. Let's stay.
Come on,
let's stay on task right now. Yeah, I think I did ask you if you would go, and then I was like, we can't waste that money on him.
No interest.
Stay on task because Taylor Swift is engaged. So Dalen, it's all of the things that she's gone through, and then now getting to see at least a glimpse of who she is. And she's never shared her relationship. She's never like been out in public like this. I was on that plane ride to the West Coast when the New Heights podcast dropped, and I was like, this Wi-Fi better work. I was grinning like a child watching it. And then I look over and the girl next to me has it on her phone.
Why do you think that is? Why do you care so? Why do so many millions care so much about this individual's life?
She's amazing.
It's a terrible answer.
I think they care so much because she is the biggest pop star of our generation. But as she has shared more, as she has done more, as she's done the Eras Tour, she's mastered like people. She's a lyrical genius. She's so intuitive. The things that she writes, and I scream all too well the 10-minute version at the top of my lungs on the way to Miraval, and you're like, I don't get it, but cool, I'm in. I'll listen to it, and then you'll play a 7-minute Billy Joel song just to even things out.
Great documentary, so I was in a Billy Joel headspace, but go ahead.
Okay. I just think Dalen, like she's so relatable, and then now as people who have been fans, especially for a long time, to like it's like you and I said that we had each other in boxes when we were coworkers. It's like you have each other in this little box. As a fan, you thought you like knew who Taylor Swift was, but you never got to see it, and so you're getting to see this completely different side of this person that you have loved and followed and become a very close personal friend with, for some of us who are very lucky. And I just think it's cool. I think it's also like incredibly, I think, impactful to just see the moms and the dads and taking their children and just the buy-in all around. And I'm not talking about like, cool, like girls love sports regardless of Taylor Swift. So I don't buy that narrative. If more girls love sports because they get to watch Taylor Swift, cool. But to see him at the concerts, and it's just, it's special. And I know that it was also a highlight of your week when you walked out of the shower and Lyra was getting out of the bath and you heard her say, but wait, really? Taylor Swift is engaged?
Yeah, I have to deal with that thing.
And I got to share it with her because Dace doesn't understand, although Dace... First song he's ever sang.
He doesn't really sing. You've convinced yourself. You created a
Cruel
reality.
Summer by Taylor Swift.
Okay.
Days.
He's not doing
I'll play the
anything.
video. We're playing the video.
The videos, you did it 47 times while I was
because
cooking.
you were in the background fussing.
Cooking the dinner.
Nope. Fussing at your computer because it wasn't doing what you wanted it to do.
In between cooking the dinner. Hold on. This is the one thing of all that you said there that I take real umbrage with. Is you said the greatest pop star of our generation. My biggest challenge with her, honestly, is so many songs sound the same, first of all. And secondly, there's so much complaining about love lost. What is she... I can't wait to hear. I'm excited. Yeah. Give me what's next. When you have billions of dollars, your husband's in the NFL, you are now married, and that...
It's not her husband yet.
I'm saying in the future, when she makes her next album, I want to know what we're singing about, okay? Because when you only have one tune to play, at some point, what else we got? So this is my problem with her. Every song, so many songs sound so similar.
First of all, how many songs off the 12 albums have you listened to?
From you, at least 50.
Yeah,
and I can't. Here's the thing. I can't decipher them because they sound so similar. And then it was funny when I went back and forth a couple Billy Joel songs. Like, think of how different these are. Think of Scenes from an Italian Restaurant is like 4 songs in one song.
Okay.
We listened to 3 of her songs. All of them sound the same.
We're going to go.
And they're all about complaining of lost love.
We're going to go Red. We're going to go folklore.
You can find a couple.
We're going to go Tortured Poets. And you're going to just have a variety of different things. And they're not all going to be about love lost. Some are just about love. And you know what? They are. Okay.
Does she do anything else? Are we having any other life experiences here?
Yeah. She's talking about TFEs. She just doesn't call them TFEs.
All right. On that note, wrap this thing up. How do we get to Taylor Swift? I cannot believe we're back here again. Are we going to do this every show?
If I can find a way to. You thought I was going to do this one and not at least mention that? It's like doing this podcast and not at least mentioning college football is starting this weekend.
Well, it technically started last weekend. But yes, the full slate. We'll get to that next week, I imagine. We'll have some TFEs on college football.
Yeah, because I'm going to be coming back from the Bill Belichick experience at North Carolina.
Oh, that's right. You will be in the belly of the beast. I'm excited to watch what it goes down to that melee on Labor Day.
Me too. Things that I'm not trying to talk about are him and his girlfriend Jordan. People are obsessed with that.
It's like, in the last 5 months, nobody's even talked about the product on the field. It's all been about the debacle that a guy that's 50 years older than his girlfriend was running that program at one time. Could you imagine sitting there when they got those emails that she had to be copied on every email? Now, granted, you may not be able to talk about this. Exactly. Not the right time to have this conversation.
Well, no, I didn't. No, I wasn't. Yeah, I didn't even mean it like that.
I find it fascinating.
I'm just like,
if I was a coach, I'm a coordinator for 20 years, and I got to go back and I say to my wife, I'm like, yeah, I have to copy this 24-year-old lady that's never coached anything on my emails with recruits. What? Anyway, I digress.
Yeah, people have different roles. Sometimes they can carry multiple space in your life. My point is, I don't care. I want to know how Bill Belichick, the Super Bowl winning coach, does as a college football coach. Well, that's what I care about, and that's what I'm interested in.
You'll find out more on Monday, and also in the Hulu show that's coming your way, apparently.
Yes, looking forward to seeing that as well. What are they calling it?
I don't know. Hard Knock Style Hulu show.
Yeah,
it's a Hard Knock Style UNC show.
I like all of those shows. Anyways, I think we really just covered the full gamut of TFEs here.
That was a heck of a TFE session. I think we're good. I'm glad you got to share that. I'm not glad. I think it's therapeutic that you shared it. And we got to have this conversation. And hopefully helpful. And check out the charity if you can.
Yeah. You Keep Hope Alive Foundation. Definitely check that out. You can check us out on YouTube as well as wherever you find your podcast, streaming every week. Next week. See you then.
Religion. Here we go.
We might be doing it.
I think we probably are.
Stay tuned.